His toxic ex unplugged his life support exactly when a global transmigration hit that fatal reset button. The screen bursts with bright red and blue lights as humanity is suddenly thrown into a brutal death game. He's laughing at how terrible all those numbers are. His health can't get any higher than a single hit, and he's stuck with that exact number forever. In the grand scheme of life, dying feels like a long-term game where you pay 10 years to finish your story. A single scratch could be your absolute eraser. The system didn't even understand who got the ultimate exploit to hand over to the world's most famous gamer. He accidentally wields a power that turns him into an unhinged monster's nightmare. We dive into the deadly kill zone of Marpy City, where a dragon and an undead army are aggressively remodeling local real estate. The locals have their minds blown by this chaos as player E blows everything up in one go, confirming that the power gap between them is truly massive. Jin Chong, often seen as a scary ghost in his office, finally lets go and admits defeat when Moy collapses right next to him. Standing right in the middle of that chaotic mess, a scary necromancer stares at you and demands he unleash all his power so he can keep feeding on your life force. He slowly stretched out his arms like a proud man who finally found the key to unlock an entire world of possibilities. We rewind a few months back to Blue Star, just as our boy finds himself trapped in the ultimate bad time after his single hit point was used up and the expiration date ran out. The guy who looks like a plant, but lives on life support, keeps whining when his fiancée accidentally removes her oxygen mask. She insisted she was doing it just so her boyfriend could feel better, even though his bitter reflection showed how much he loved the top player in the universe until his bad luck forced him to watch from afar. A sudden burst of motion knocked the door wide open, and a cheerful blonde man stepped out into the hall like he had been waiting for forever. We found our boy instantly recognizing his college friend, who was there to help secure that important bag. Meanwhile, the two traitors started making it too easy and cozy, just inches away from the hospital bed. He casually dropped a grenade in his hand to hide the brutal car crashed 5 years ago, only for his boy to escape the scene. And our fiancé suddenly inherits a huge pile of gold, while we realize our group of guys are full of scary monsters. He grabs his oxygen mask and walks toward the door as a loud "hey" calls out, shouting, "Don't touch that boy again." The fiancé gasped for air because he knew his partner had no romance left to share. He whispered that mixing up with the corpse in the living room was just pure negativity and a total sign of luck being broken, completely ruining their plans together. You know what's happening? Your little one isn't just trying hard. He's already going crazy on the inside, screaming for something to happen so he can finally get out of this bad situation without fighting it anymore. But as he tries to stay still, a huge door appears out of thin air right above him. People around the world are freaking out because someone might be coming for them. The world turned upside down because all the stars suddenly found themselves back in their own rooms, and now every single one of them has to start over from scratch. You start at nothing with a burst of power that moves your body instantly, while the whole world is sent directly to your mind in just 30 seconds. As the news slowly settles in, the general public begins their frantic check of the brand new status windows. While some are nervously worried about this forced reality show genre, others gleefully point out that rich elites are now crying because this game is strictly free to play with zero pay to win mechanics. Back in the hospital room of betrayal, the fiancé has already been complaining about fighting other species for survival. The blonde scumbag is now having a total meltdown, realizing his master plan to steal billions is completely ruined since earthly wealth does not transfer over to this new world. He's trying to take care of his own feelings before he laughs at us. And when we're done with him, he thinks they might even have survived that 3-second time limit for magic tricks. As the clock finally struck a 0, our boy scrambled against the wall, clutching his hand until he could see how much time was left before the game ended. The transmigration sweeps across the globe, grabbing screaming cowards and eager adventurers alike. Oh, my dear, as our boy lands near the river's temple with such pure joy that he feels suddenly that his legs are finally working perfectly again. The screen buzzes with an official voice as the Blue Star players arrive and scan their own bodies, ready for a fresh start. He eagerly dives into his profile on the system, where he learns his name is running through a random talent awakening process that shuffles talents from complete garbage to legendary SSS tier. Oh my god, our boy strikes the ultimate jackpot and wakes up to a rare, powerful ability known as promotion. He's thrilled to find that this beauty lets him permanently raise any item by 1 rank for free, no matter how spicy you want it to be. If you want a 2-rank jump, or gets fully chaotic with Cataclysm, he trades his real lifespan instead for a 3-rank upgrade. To sweeten the deal, he grabs just 1 free Cataclysm used straight from the start. The wizard's eyes widen as he sees the brutal selection screen. You're not strong enough for these classes, and the lights go out before a single word of magic can be spoken. He has a single choice left in his life. He becomes a necromancer instead of anyone else. He stared at the empty chair and realized that none of them could really make him any wiser. Now, for the first time in years, he truly had no choice but to accept his scary fate. However, he suddenly sees the big hole in the wall. He's got his health bar deadlocked right at the final hit point, leaving him with only a single day to survive before dying. Realizing that a gentle breeze could literally take him on an eternal journey, he decided his poor financial habits were useless here and took a big risk just to see what happened. The game's toughest boss monster wakes up to unleash a cosmic explosion that instantly upgrades his character, even though the price tag for that power is literally millions of years of living time. He's letting the system reward him for being so reckless. It says he can get promotion to that scary hidden class Dead Dominator if you give him 15 free points per level plus a new skill called Lifelink and an exclusive death book, all with some fancy cataclysm traits. With only 10 seconds left before the match starts, our boy refuses to be a spectator anymore. He immediately dives straight into the chaos. He spent weeks chasing after his cheating ex and that backstabbing buddy, ready to take vengeance by serving them with piping hot despair. As the epic tale winds down, the old rules finally drop in favor of a new, simpler way to live, so that no one is ever doomed by dying too young or running out of time. The general public handles the forced transmigration with terrible grace, watching one man sob loudly for his big brother to take care of him while another office drone goes into total meltdown because he's late for work. In a fresh welcome, the system says goodbye while chatting explodes in numbers for everyone else to join. The group was packed into a room full of loud priests and a massive, muscular wizard who looked absolutely thrilled as they finally felt their powerful fantasy come alive. His shiny new stats finally pulled him out of the networking event, where his basic skills were just a pathetic Frank skeleton summon and a weak Frank burn, until he finally hit the jackpot. The A-level lifeline lets him carry health like a friendly breeze, while the S-rank summon amplifier slashes through cooldowns and supercharges his tiny minions for quick kills. He found a way to jump over that scary single-hit rule by turning them into a smooth, easy trick. He finally found the rare tome about ending life, but since it needs a perfect score of 10 before anyone else can see it, he kept it locked away until he reached that next milestone. Time's up. He pulls the trigger, and suddenly 3 skeleton figures burst into the room where he was supposed to cast a spell. The system chirps that suddenly explains. His catastrophic power now permanently multiplies every single effect he uses. The lone gamer staring at a blank screen finds his reflection in an empty mirror, trying so hard not to admit he's just another nameless name on this lonely island of reality. The cool rejection sent a jolt through our boy and made him scream in rage as he threw his arms up, yelling, "Fetting! Fetting! Our little boy can't even kill a walking chicken." He just leaves behind his bad attitude and heads straight to the local farming zone where everyone else is getting humbled by poultry. The tank complains that the chickens are pecking too hard while another player officially quits because a level 0 player is worse than a level 1 chicken. As the frustrated group leaves, they see their boy roll up in the dark with the skeletons right there in front of them, crying out for pure jealousy at his obvious god-tier talent. The boys felt their hearts beating against the ground as they swung their long sticks at a flock of 4-legged friends that looked like two-tailed ghosts, but the kids were too scared to hurt them. He kept his tiny skeleton in check, because if a rabbit sneezed at him, he'd break, so he told his friends to help him out. The bony squad runs around hacking away at the rabbits to turn them into shiny digital confetti and give him a sweet, free boost of experience every time he gets kicked. He felt so thrilled as the lifelike pulled his health up on multiple skeletons flawlessly, then capped his active squad to 4 just to keep everyone's attention away from him. Another party catches him walking in slow motion on his deathbed, thinking he's already crushing it with an unbeatable move before anyone can even step forward to see. The boy hits level 1 with a permanent curse that makes him know exactly where to dump his stats. Since summoning scale with spirit drops 11 points there and throws 4 into agility, because extra speed might save his fragile life, he rides the level up high, remembering how promotion talent works on items, but wonders if it works on skills. His basic summon and burn skills are now E rank, while his A rank lifelink skyrockets to an S rank passive that automatically shares his health with all minions. His summon amplifier evolves into the SS rank Deathmaster, boosting him with a massive 75% cooldown reduction and doubling his summon stats for better play. The boy's health bar finally drops to a mere 9,000 hits. Yet with his army topped up to 20, he suddenly throws away all his quiet tactics and takes full charge of the battlefield. The beam strikes that rare armor piece, and instantly, the ancient book of death snaps open to reveal a code of terrifying strength, giving him just 5 points more than usual. He shrugged off a barely convincing buff and moved on to the hard work that awaits him at level 10. He steps into the swarms and laughs as a team of 20 skeletons burst from behind the wall. He jokes that a new skeleton pops out of the dirt in less than 2 seconds thanks to his ridiculous cooldowns. The bony legion roars through the forest while the cats race away, letting their fast, drunk footsteps push them all into level 2. It took half an hour for our little boy to strut toward that mysterious mist forest entrance. The scary thing in the dungeon says, "You're bringing yourself out here alone." The boy simply pointed his finger at that giant group of 20 skeletal warriors looming just behind him. We'll let the audacity go wild, so we can't skip another beat. The dungeon welcomed him into the mist forest in hell mode. The fog is so thick you can barely walk through a bowl of bat soup. Our boy refuses to walk blindly, so he commands his skeleton crew to lead them straight up the hill and finish the job before anyone else can see. He settles deep inside the backrest, letting his inflated ego take charge while blissfully enjoying the power to keep his summoning focus strictly within a 100-meter circle. If he doesn't hold that tight, his entire army will instantly wander aimlessly through the fog. Suddenly, a towering, giant ant-sized monster with super strength effortlessly shattered the heavy fog around him. An angry tree snaps down with effortless force and snatches away a skeleton arm. My boy looks at the heavy hit with a slight tilt of his head, but immediately knows that even one giant tree can't last if it's led by a whole army of undead minions. He orders a big swarm to charge up and hacks those elite guards right down to splinters, causing them to drop instantly. As he watches, Hell Mode kicks in and raises the dungeon level 3 levels higher, turning every single monster into an elite with absolute gold for his experience points. He was struggling with his mental math while a level 8 elite mystery python tried to leap over him from behind. Our little boy carefully sidestepped a huge snake that was ready to bite him, so he managed to slip past an unexpected ambush. He threw up his soul fire and turned the dangerous snake into a ghost in a world of ghosts. A tangle of tangled vines and dead leaves swallows the warm air as it falls from the tree, leaving behind only a dark, heavy stone and a strange silence that no one can hear anymore. Standing before the heavy leather armor, our boy finally understood why he had been so cautious all along. He was a necromancer so strong it almost made him laugh, but his spell damage stayed pathetic compared to those bony boys, so he grabbed the belt anyway and ordered them on as capitalism demanded. For that outfit sure would look great in the marketplace if they never tried to leave. He grabbed an entire pile of mediocre stats from the ground, including a broken wooden wand, a rusty fong dagger, and several skill books for entangling or strangling. Nothing even near what he needs in his build. He decides to dump these useless items on the market later when his promotion talent is finally ready, hoping someone will pay him enough to buy them all. He checks his numbers. His spirit's strength is huge, but his life is frozen in time at just 1 hit point worth of durability, leaving him trapped by a year-long curse that won't let him live to fight another day. He stared down the crumbling wooden wand and suddenly felt like he'd lost a real gun. Then, right before it even hit him, his exclusive weapon fired at full speed to claim the spot. The Grimoire gives him a huge upgrade that adds 75 spells per day and makes every fight against undead monsters feel twice as tough, whether he or his minions are fighting back. The sudden, thunderous boom sent him into a frenzy, but then he realized there were no scary undead lurking in that damp, forgotten forest. He's feeling totally up against the odds, so he shouts to the team, "Time for that boss fight." The hero steps down from his throne and meets the mysterious Mist Python King, who looks like a shiny silver slug about to take over the arena with over 88,000 hits left on him and 2 powerful guards standing right behind him. The boy stands frozen at the massive health bar, his heart pounding as he tries to stay calm. "All right," he says softly to himself, wondering what kind of monster could possibly have such a big goal. "Let's take it one step at a time, even if we're scared." A group of skeletons charges forward as they are pulled by a heavy iron lever. The guards nearly backed off as soon as they saw the boss's single strike, leaving everyone stunned at how powerful that move really was. But the man simply refused to show fear, even when things went wrong for him. He confidently shouts, "No matter how hard we throw our bodies at this problem, nothing could stop me." The tall skeletons tore through both guards and left behind a single, magnificent king. The boys gathered for an intense mission because their leader demanded they unite in one single move. Launch that massive fire blast against the villain immediately. He knows his own flaws are only beautiful right now. The boss looked terrifyingly dangerous, munching on dead skeletons one by one and throwing them into the trash as if they were just cheap paper towels. The giant snake suddenly noticed its enemy was going through a tough fight and decided to change from being clumsy into something smarter. The fireball lances through the air with lightning-fast speed, shooting straight at the necromancer's weak spot. The boss threw his best fist at us, and it barely missed our face before the ground shook with power. The cat pounces on the snake, laughing while he hides behind his massive life-sharing bucket to keep his body at full health. A giant cobra spins around like a target with his eyes closed as he charges into a wall of blue flames, leaving nothing but smoke and silence behind as his tiny minions swarm up to catch every inch of danger away from him before the dragon's death comes knocking at the door. He vanished instantly, grabbing a giant 14,000 experience points and punching the air like pure victory, while the server announced his win as the world's first novice to solo a boss, followed by a silver rank boss, and he walked away with a heavy bag of gold coins. Suddenly, the system spams a whole village-wide shout announcing that everyone must get out of being clumsy and start acting exactly like he does. It's so loud the entire town goes wild and can't stop thinking about it. A tired man fights for mercy against a weak bird and hears that the game doesn't care about balance. But a hard-working worker who worked for money finds himself standing right there, ready to be another useless soldier. My boy is trying to steal my secret SS rank by tricking everyone into thinking he's winning a magic stunt. Fujiao watches as the team moves into that much better party setting. She quickly sees how hard it is for her alone to earn enough clout from a boss, and immediately knows she'll have plenty of power in the end. She laughed softly and said, "I'd probably let Maple Leaf finish that final boss alone myself if I knew." The Maple Leaf shuddered and slammed shut in the middle of the fight, confirming to the audience that despite his incredible skills as a silver rank hero, he couldn't beat the beast who had already claimed his place in the line of action. He laughed audibly while pointing out that this boy was clearly pushing his limits with an SS rank, leaving him completely unprepared for such a challenge. When they heard about this, their elf teammate instantly felt a deep shock. The group leader challenged them to bring in the ancient legend, but Fujiya smiled brightly and agreed with enthusiasm, knowing no one had ever refused such an invitation. In the woods, my friends jumped into boxes and got sucked back by a wall of friend requests. He threw $1 million at every single fan because he had so much less time to spare. He pauses to look at his bag and sees that the tiny gems he bought for life actually save him from dying every single day. He refuses to accept ordinary work and instead spits out his free promotion talent to upgrade a single soul stone into something far more valuable. He's holding up an oversized clock with a big 120-day face, so when he adds up all his 6 tiny stones together, he thinks, "Oh my god, I've got almost 2 years of new life to spare." He sifted through the pile of remaining boss items, strolling away to find that one book was actually useless while another contained something totally toxic. He steps forward and turns the golden ring into a powerful weapon, letting a hidden passive attack unleash deadly poison on every strike he delivers. Even though his bony minions were completely shredded by the boss, he can't shake the undeniable truth about them. He stared deeply at his newly acquired ascension talent as he decided that hitting the gym was the next step in his military career. Even though he gets a free promo chance, Ascension demands real money to turn your basic skill into a powerful beast by spending 5 golden coins right now. The gamble paid off massively. His F-rank skill skyrockets to dank, upgrading his flimsy minions into heavy-duty skeleton soldiers and allowing him to summon real skeleton archers. He waved his hand and watched the giant skeletons rush through the mud to escape their hiding spot. He looked at the monster's insane power levels and realized that his 5 gold coins were a complete loss. He pointed the squad toward the 2 giant level 8 goblins that stood right in front of him. A brave new army rushes over to crush all those bad guys in seconds. The boy cheered as his massive speed boost made him ready to leave, so he packed up and headed straight for the next high-level farming zone. In that crowded city square, a young man leaps from a wooden box high up to prove his power at the Grand Ambition Guild. The crowd goes silent as the mysterious hero reveals his glowing rank, promising everyone big benefits like huge experiences and better chances to win. Then suddenly, they start screaming in frustration that they can't even get there. A loud server-wide pin message knocked out a quiet recruitment event during what felt like an exciting story. A young man at Fuja was desperately trying to convince his boss that she would be a great business partner because he couldn't stand being alone. The whole server went into absolute shock at once. The peon message costs a ton of gold coins right now. While most players are struggling to rub 2 copper pennies together, the guild leader guy is completely dumbfounded and wondering who this girl really is because she's just throwing lots of fortunes around to get our boy's attention. Our little boy stared wide-eyed as he saw a glowing message of extreme aggression in a financial report. He read through her confidential message, where she casually promised to pay everything for his equipment, and even threw away 10,000 gold coins on the floor right before he could say hello. His phone's low alarm suddenly buzzes because everyone has already left for the tutorial, forcing him to ask her directly why she looks so incredibly rich. Instead of hiding his interest, she lets out her cards on the table, proving that money isn't a secret, but just a simple number stuck in her head. She shows off an exclusive skill called the God of Wealth, turning the conversation into a fun game about how much he wants to know. Every single day, she shakes that magical money tree, earning 1% of its value as a bonus coin every time she holds it, and she's totally safe from getting hurt or losing her money if she falls down the stairs. The boy finished reading the Book of Wealth while trying to nap, realizing this girl literally generated an entire GDP just by taking a nap. Despite the massive financial temptation, he decided that teaming up would just drag him into the spotlight, and the solo grind was much safer for his fragile existence. He politely rejected her incredibly generous offer, firmly stating he preferred to be a lone wolf. In the heart of the rich girl's camp, her own pride was battered by a man who dared to reject her, leaving her completely fuming over it. The party awkwardly discussed the snub. Shrugging it off, the warrior pointed out they could grind perfectly fine without him, while the mage noted that their farming speed would likely crawl unless they got better gear sooner. Right on the spot, our boy returns with a grin, asking her if she wants to consider a deal involving selling all that spare gear and skill books he's been hiding for years. A bright-eyed rich girl instantly changes her face when her boss asks for money, offering to buy him everything from the market while her boyfriend tells her he has so much treasure in his bag that he'll never let her close his door on his next quest. She felt super excited as she ordered her Maple Leaf teammate to dump all their weapons and loot on the floor so the heavy army could arrive right now. It was just then that a high-level bronze-ranked wild boar leader crashed their networking event to ask whether Maple Leaf could finish it alone after spending 20 years training himself to become an unstoppable duel machine. The rich girl instantly snaps into a battle-ready stance, slamming her fists on the ground as she tells the whole party, "Dump those healing potions and officially shove him off the team." He's now officially earning that solo victory badge. She is so desperate that she orders the rest of the team to stay in their post while they figure out what to do next. The Maple Leaf swings wildly and knocks the boar off its feet instantly, leaving the pig standing there in shock while the rich girl laughs with complete confidence, ready to take a turn at the fight. Meanwhile, our boy was casually leveling his silver rank by flattening the boss and grabbing the loot for that massive bonus, finally reaching level 6. The undead army lets him slide sideways through the mist, and while he boggles at thinking he can't hurt anyone, it's actually quite exhausting just picking up every single piece of heavy loot. Sifting through the pile of junk, he found a reinforced bone shield, so weak in its own way it didn't matter at all, along with a gold rank cloak meant only for reducing aggression. Yet that one piece was so painfully ugly it refused to be worn. But when he finally sees the glowing gold rank badge, it instantly powers up his health, mana, and gives him a huge spirit boost every time he hits an important enemy with a critical strike. He jumped up and slapped a shiny badge onto his chest, then froze in shock as something small, invisible, disappeared from the dark space around him. A booming voice shouts from the fog that a pile of walking bones is trespassing on the king's land. When a terrifying lore bomb dropped in the woods, it wasn't for good luck. It was because a massive army of skeletons had just been dragged through them, shattering the Goblin King's long, forgotten nightmares. Oh wow. The king's brain suddenly exploded in a wild, crazy rush of new power, and he actually made it through the entire thing. Oh no, we're stuck in that cursed dungeon where the door won't budge, so we have to finish up this little hidden quest for the Goblin's King before it gets too late, because only we can get out before time runs out. It was the day our brave boy found his legs frozen in place while sweating bullets and rallying his tough squad to figure out exactly how that dramatic royal was built up. It's getting worse because the system warns Reggie he'll hit hard when you answer back. Our brave boy stands ready to take down a beast that's supposed to be tough, but is actually just too much for 2 men to handle while the enemy charges right in behind him. Reggie shreds those heavy armor skeletons to dryness by dumping water on them. His refusal to bend made the boy fire up his soul fire and order his skeletons to charge at once, creating a powerful volley of destruction. Reggie refused to play his turn because he wanted to melt the huge health bar instead of playing a game where fairness matters. The king roared and summoned a squad of elite level 8 rainforest warriors to the battlefield. The boy stared at the towering pack of massive enemies that looked like they were about to explode, realizing how much harder that entire game was now. Roughly speaking, Reggie the Goblin King threw an enormous tantrum when he suddenly realized he had been hiding all along in the misty woods and was now completely alone. The air shifts with the sound of a massive explosion as he strikes hard, but the boy's tiny hand struggled to stop him. He stared down at his lifesaver's broken body with a sad sigh, and suddenly felt a surge of pure excitement, summoning a new wave of skeleton warriors who were ready to crush all those small things alive. Reggie refuses to let the loss ruin him, so he drops into a berserk rage and trades off some of his usual defense for a huge boost that makes him explode into fast attacks. He's not impressed. He's roasted a giant goblin by his own armor for talking more than anyone deserves to hear. The screen went dark as the notification announced, "Maple Leaf has just locked down the gold boss." The little boy paused awkwardly, a bit grumpy about being bumped into while trying to steal the first piece of gold metal, before immediately shaking his head and laughing off the moment. He can't let his eyes roll back over the pile of pennies when a real big jackpot is right there. The skeletal guards crushed the berserker goblin with effortless strength, while my son fired his weapon just right to send the king fleeing into the shadows before anyone could stop him. He absorbed a mountain of experience and blasted the next server announcement, finally becoming the first person to solo a gold rank boss. He bagged 12 basic soul stones and 12 golden coins, yet he found himself staring at an empty world with no items to drop, questioning whether that missing loot has somehow rewritten the entire game's secret narrative. In the quiet village square, the Grand Ambition Guild leader is soaking wet while his clumsy aide drums along with it. But when the Maple Leaf announces a raid on the gold boss, the minion jokes that they should just hop onto the trees to chase them instead of heading straight for the town. The moment the news hit the air, the whole group dropped like a stone and went frozen in silence as the head boss stared at the young talent with wide eyes. At the camp of a wealthy girl, her entire crowd stared blankly into the sky, completely stunned by her boyfriend's sheer terror, while she stubbornly brushed it away with an endless pile of cash just to pretend he wasn't real. Maple Leaf finally arrives and heads straight into their first dungeon together. Suddenly, my boy's dungeon race turns fast enough to spiral into a total nightmare instantly. Because of how quickly he sliced Reggie down, his secret plot got caught up in the chaos, instantly making the dungeon turn into a nightmare. A heavy fog rolls over the forest and clings to our little boy. He stares intently at the shape that was once a goblin, just as the world begins to dissolve around him in a way that leaves nothing but faded memories behind. It's not a secret that a real boss will come out of the fog in your story. It's the Skeleton King Reggie, a terrifying level 10 dark gold boss that's currently holding onto an utterly ridiculous 1.8 million health points. As he roars to the air, the undead king pulls a dozen elite warriors, mages, archers, and fighters from the mud to fight for him. The boy nervously checked a stack of stats on a massive enemy team, realizing only 6 of Reggie's summoned forces could match the power of his whole army of 20. The system quietly dropped the absolute worst news possible. The old secret had finally opened, and suddenly the little village guardless system goes completely silent. If our boy dies here, he will lose 10% of his life and face a minimum penalty of 10 solid years before the game ends. We're crunching mental arithmetic when it comes to those soul stones, and suddenly my boy knows that no matter how much he has in his pocket, there is no way he can survive the next one. The legendary Skeleton King Reggie rolled his heavy mask and unleashed a thunderous blast that shook the ground 10,000 times heavier than normal, slamming massive numbers of destruction into every corner of the battlefield. Sawing through his dying life with a sharp, breathless gasp, our brave boy ordered every arrow on his team to aim precisely at him so that all of his army could be wiped away instantly. He looked at his screen and whispered, "It's only been 5 years since we started learning how to build this monster, but it still feels like magic." He had masterfully transformed his weak minions into towering skeletons equipped with impossible power, ready to unleash brutal strikes that would crush even the biggest bosses into dust as if throwing them on a freight train. Ray swings wildly at the red light and declares himself the new true Skeleton King, causing his body to shake until he triggers a full berserk rampage of his own. My son laughed when he saw our boss lower their armor during a surprise attack, then got caught in the very act of being overwhelmed by a whole army. Reggie's declining health forces his boy to snap back into battle, causing the boss to vanish completely into a cloud of expensive digital ash. The system explodes. Our boy dives into a mountain of experience and rockets up to level 8. The server crowns him the first to solo a dark gold boss, burying him under 40 basic soul stones and 60 gold coins while he's so excited that his extra breathing room is enough for all those years he burned. The dungeon security alarms began to crack like a gunshot, flashing red as the guards scrambled for a way out. One moment, the player cleared the room in standard armor, and the next the darkness turned into hell, turning their weapons against them inside. Meanwhile, outside the gate, the Grand Ambition Guild leader shouted aggressively at the crowd, trying to stop the chaos while the dungeon's clear announcements began to rapid fire. She gasps as he catches up, challenging her to a bet on clearing the first dungeon while boasting that she's got nothing against him for sure. She counters that if her team wins, he owes her 3 huge favors. Before anyone even gets close to that ancient door, a digital blast erupts at the server and spares our youngest protagonist from his own awkward introduction. The towering guild leader's sly grin instantly crumbles under the sheer absurdity of what he just witnessed, realizing the boy is now an absolute mess. He refuses to step away from the massive machine and immediately shifts his stance, shouting that everyone else is going to grab the new easy mode instead of fighting back. The game world jumps straight into chaos when he suddenly snaps into hell mode, followed by a devastating blow to the Dark Gold boss before dropping an absolute nuclear weapon on that regional blue tier announcement about soloing a catastrophic dungeon. Mentally shattered by the sheer weight of what he's lost, the guild leader packed up his gear and vanished into a path of pure frustration. The rich girls' party decided that they were totally calm because their boy had already swept up the whole group. In another village, a random player was screaming in pure frustration as he got thrashed by the regular Goblin King, wondering what kind of broken talent his boy had hidden away. In a quiet spot near village 9526, 2 friends who were once best friends but now have bitter differences are quietly sharing the same news. The blonde scumbag panics, recognizing our boy's old gaming handle, and swears he personally pulled the oxygen plug. He desperately tries to convince himself it is a coincidence, but his toxic brain immediately plots that if it is their victim, the ex-fiancée should just use her feminine charms to seduce him all over again. She blinks slowly as the man laughs, so hard his teeth ache, knowing the perfect move is waiting for him to catch him off guard and make him look foolish. In the dark dungeon, we looked back at that scattered pile of disaster loot. 1 curse skill book marked with an S rating, and my only surviving piece of the main armor set. He pulls life force out of the dead with that sickly taste of juice, turning corpses into a forceful source for healing his allies. He had finally cleared all his mana traps and instantly handed out a free SS rank title, causing the immortal creature in his room to drain Reggie's whole body right away. He strikes at full power because his boss is a battery that's already undead. Then he pulls back and examines his chest piece, which says it will grow with him but hasn't even been checked yet. He knew exactly how much money the new digital tax would drain from a fantasy quest, so he had a plan: stash that massive loot away in his inventory to use only when time was running out. Oh my god! Our boy stares at the empty throne room with those bright, terrified eyes, and Reggie stumbles off the floor to take the gold he couldn't hold back after his funeral. He grabbed an enormous haul of shiny coins, sparkling gems, and stacks of precious gold, including some really valuable black gold items. The boss didn't even pause before dropping his whole skill tree, coughing up C-rank summoning books, B-rank attack skills, rare materials, and a big epic quest item named the Harness Crystal Orb. He takes a chance on this sweet deal by merging his new C-rank books into 1 powerful summon skeleton move, and then using his free promotion talent to quickly boost the whole thing from Jipping to Burek. Now he can summon a mixed squad of 3 warriors, archers, and mages for every spell cast. The fact that it costs over 1,000 points in mana keeps him from using anything else right now. The next step involves a precious stone called the Harness Crystal Orb, which the system tells him can't actually use because it's too tough for his current armor and he needs to keep it ready just in case things get hard. He struck his promotion talent hard as the system quietly told him he'd finally turned that quest into a deadly nightmare named Dylan's Lament. The orb forces him to climb to level 30 within a single month, or his life force could vanish entirely as they head toward that elusive new owner. But the temporary bonuses are so powerful, it is almost comical. He magically gains a huge boost to both strength and magic, which instantly wipes out the cost of every spell he casts. He grinned wide as he stepped out of the dark dungeon, heading straight toward that wealthy lady who was waiting for him. He was surprisingly prepared for betrayal, so she rushed to greet him with eager energy. Meanwhile, our boy calmly summoned a massive wall of monstrous, heavily armored skeletons that terrified the nearby adventurers until they stopped trying to move forward and gave the privacy. The rich girls are completely intimidated by his talent, convinced it needs to be SS level, so they ask how much money their wallets have for his gear and then dump all their expensive books onto the floor. The party was about to pass out because the dark gold drops were so much too good. She laughs bitterly as the poor girl realizes that money is a luxury for everyone else, and she just can't afford what's being offered. Our boy waved it off and offered to hand over the gear by binding system contract, so she could pay the rest tomorrow. He loved his straightforward business style. Our boy told her everything is negotiable except for one item, a resurrection skill book with a massive 500 gold price tag. A priest who was buzzing with pure excitement instantly accepted a great offer from that wealthy girl. She remembered the 2 soul stones from her boss's powerful skill, and then threw a final coin into the game to finish off the challenge. She nods at him as he steps forward, ready to lead her party through the darkest corridors of hell and the endless nightmare. Trading every soul stone she currently holds for each new one, she discovers down those treacherous dungeons with no hesitation whatsoever. Later, our boy sat atop tall grass, overlooking a terrifying sky, where his skeletal army was slaughtering level 10 bison and prairie wolves one by one, while he laughed about how the leveling was perfect. He slammed on the hard floor at level 9 and grabbed a new set of stats, just as he started complaining about his daily chores while he pulled up a ladder to find a guy who knows how to fix all these big, fancy chests. He groaned deeply as he watched the NPC suddenly vanish from their store and start painting wild landscapes right smack in the middle of a monster zone, leaving him completely disheartened for nothing but more chaos. Suddenly, the notification jolted his heart out of his chest. One massive skeleton warrior was instantly dead, but instead of taking a heavy blow, he just flickered in his summon space and instantly revived with a brutal 60-minute cooldown. His boy panicked immediately, knowing his skeletons had nearly 150,000 hit points, yet something just effortlessly one-shot them all. His big guy's arm was gone like an explosion, and my boy ran frantically to find where that giant monster had vanished from the battlefield. His voice broke the silence by shouting praise for his skeleton collection as our boy spun around to lock eyes with Wan Jin, a novice who was both an appraiser and a painter, and the conversation felt like a natural exchange between strangers in that dusty village square. He stared at that flickering green screen in his head, wondering why the NPC was so slow when it should be running on a full tank. The appraiser slammed his hand down, screaming that the boy's undead army had destroyed his sketchbook's charm and demanded a huge payment for it. Our little boy handed out a big sack of cash to the appraiser, who grimaced and pulled it away anyway, saying he definitely needed more money than that pile had. The boss demanded his son buy an ugly picture of the mountains for $100 gold instead of paying us. Our kid looked straight out at this messy wall and whispered to himself, "What a terrible job." The man tries to yell his frustration out as the appraisal expert suddenly snaps back into a powerful, terrifying aura of pure energy. As sweat glistened on the boy's brow, he suddenly shifted from his usual quiet state to a loud, passionate defense of his master's brilliant ideas, making everyone laugh at how effortlessly the kind of praise kept the mood high. The appraiser's cheerful smile lifts as the boy happily packs his dark gold treasure into a box. The appraiser's booming chant reveals their incredible stats, but their shadow boots slash incoming damage while their towering bone armor reflects melee strikes. A colossal bone sword wields massive splash damage, and an undead necklace lets their summoned enemies curse those targets. Our little boy jumps into the room, shouting for his father to come back, but the old man barely sees his words before he vanishes into the shadows as the appraiser leaves in a hurry. He's shocked by the giant jaw drop as he officially backs off, realizing his part-time tutorial skills are just a tiny thing compared to how big those epic gear items really are. Instead of letting him learn this tricky job at a normal school, he decides to teach our boy right now so he can get paid in real ancient gold coins instead of worthless paper money. A mysterious quest appears in the sky, begging for 50,000 ancient gold coins. Our little boy tries to pull back the door for the real estate lady as she finally makes her way out, even though he keeps trying to hold on to her arms like a puppet. He remembers how his talent for promotions worked with ordinary money, pulling up a huge bunch of shiny regular gold coins, shouting at them to be his own people, and then violently tossing those old-fashioned precious pieces into the appraiser's bag ready to trade. The old man laughed so hard his teeth nearly split off as he handed the simple book to his son for a chance to make him even richer before leaving the house alone. The poor boy's basic knowledge was worthless, so he rushed to sell the book and learn how to check gear properly before it broke in time. He tried to use the spell in his robes, and instantly it turned into nothing at all, while he cursed his bad luck and kept spamming it out of nowhere, using up all his mana before running out completely. A loud alarm buzzed in his ear as a sudden pop of green light signaled he was about to find the biggest treasure chest in the world. He steps forward and stumbles into a huge group of prairie wolves who have already locked the door behind him. He casually pulls out a couple of skeleton minions to clear out the space around them. The pack leader roared with power, and instantly 2 elite wolves and a swarm of reinforcements joined the chaos. Meanwhile, our boy simply giggled as they tried to outnumber them. He flips through his fingers, unleashing a full-scale invasion of his powerful skull army, crushing the wolf pack right as the creature's final pose begins to fade into nothingness. He walked right past the dead bodies, instantly snatching away the silver-ranked Prairie Wolf King with ease, and then grabbed his big stack of loot and the powerful gold that actually made it to level 10. The massive announcement slammed into the air as a sudden surge of energy crowned him as the first player ever to reach level 10 in that brilliant blue star zone, instantly elevating him to an impossible high rank with titles on his plate. The wolves have finally stopped hunting, so he lets go of the heavy treasure chest and reaches out for something that's glowing brightly in the light. He pointed a finger right at the box and lit up his promotion skill, and suddenly it worked. The little boy pointed wildly at the shiny new treasure chest, sending a power-up to unlock it for free. The glowing screen chimed a notification saying, "Wild chest, gold rank," and the boy laughed as his promotion skill activated. The man peels back the lid of his golden armor and lifts up a massive gold staff topped with a shimmering rank map. The system drops a warning pop-up about a coordinate that's way too deep for the novice village. So since he hit level 10, he has to find the chief and teleport right away, or his experience bar will freeze permanently. Before leaving, he decides to min-max his loot before dropping out, then promotes the map to dark gold. Now the new coordinates update to the wild outside of Jingli City. Our kid groaned loudly over the long wait, thinking that because he was so late, the treasure hunt had already started. The Grand Ambition Guild leader steps out of a foggy mist forest, puffing up his chest to reveal all his unearned pride. A loud announcement rang out that his guild had finally won the first clear in the hardest version of the game. A man in a dark alley tries to grab an old stranger by the throat while they fight over a giant ball of light and chaos, ending their struggle with a loud crash that sends them spinning through the dark together. A sudden noise cuts off his talk before he can finish, and a party of shiny girls has already taken over the stage. The guild leader's sudden burst of energy almost tore his own arm off. The leader knew exactly why his son had been so stubborn and desperate for a miracle. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that he was actually going through something far more difficult than trying to hide from his own grandson. He realized his boy had turned over a mountain of gear for the rich girls solely to make his day off, so he vowed petty revenge immediately after he did it. At the rich girls' camp, she told her heavy gear squad to take a break before they rush into hell mode. But the servers aren't done dropping nukes yet. As a bright blue banner flies over the sky, we're crowned our very first player in this whole Blue Star region by hitting level 10. Because the cap got pushed over, the whole village watched from their high ground as the leaderboards began to open up in a frenzy of excitement. We watched as our son sat perfectly still at the peak, surrounded by a thick wall of trying people, rich girls, and a furious guild leader, all clinging to that dangerous level 5. The giant wall between them shattered, sending the guild leader crashing into a wall of stone as he screamed in panic for the village chief to step down and let him escape. The girls' party was so stunned by how fast her boy leveled up, they were confused why his jump was legal when he flew back 2 steps before even blinking. The rich girl finally decided the moment was right to make sure her business ties stayed strong and firm forever. She chased down him with a grin, finally delivering 10 bright soul stones as the night deepens. The little boy checked off his list and said, "Yes, the contract has been signed and paid." She flirted slightly, whispering that she'd always get the best deals, while he casually told her to call him up when she finally pulled herself out of the tutorial zone. She walked away, practically patting herself on her own back to show she had made a great move to talk to the real god. Finally, our little boy found his father's home. Elderly NPCs stared in disbelief at how quickly the players slammed themselves into the level 10 ceiling. The chief pointed proudly to a bright sphere hanging from the ceiling and said, "That's where we'll go. The new village will get picked up right there." The Shinanoa Empire has a 10th-tier main city that acts as its most powerful economic engine. He stepped out from behind a darkened door with polite cheerfulness as he bowed his head to the lighted orb. Old man stood in dramatic flair, whispering that the chaos would leave behind a generation who survived the bloody end. In that old village of 9,526, the Toxic X's were still obsessively chasing the top spot on the leaderboard. The backstabbing blonde snake stares at the name, paranoidly thinking the vegetable he murdered has somehow thrived. The cheating ex-fiancée just smirks, tossing her hair and declaring that it doesn't matter who it is. She is completely delusional, insisting that with her feminine charm, she can easily trap him and steal his power all over again. The gold-leafed serpent giggled, completely agreeing with her selfish boss's reckless scheme. The boy stumbled into EC, gasping for air as his friend pointed out that the game had no surprise gift when he finally let go of the tutorial world. Suddenly, his mood instantly skyrockets when he finds his exclusive Death Code DX has hit level 10. The Grim War gives him a massive 300 spell power, 100 bonus points to all stats, and doubles every damage against undead. But the real prize is that new soul drain effect. The more powerful monsters get faster at catching their victims. If a single bad guy gets away and kills anyone, they'll get 2 deaths in every fight, losing life at half rate for each one hit. A mysterious voice whispers that the grimoire has unlocked his secret power, but as he stares at it, the system blasts a wall of information straight into his mind. It hits him hard enough to send shockwaves through his skull and make him feel like he's about to fall into oblivion. He learned how to kill Death Gaze, an SSS active skill that's completely broken just from looking at it, and now it sends out massive true damage per second and permanent fear for everyone around him. If he kills one player with this, they get instantly stripped of 20% of their stats if their life level drops below his own, plus worse. They're revived in absolute agony with their stats gutted by 40%, taking down a player for 12 hours. He realized his power doubled, and the monster's strength grew even bigger. His son laughed loudly, shouting that anyone in front of him would be sure to take a massive beating. The villain's monologue was cut off mid-thought as a mysterious stranger walked in, quietly whispering about how his son had been born with an unfortunate fate before the terrifying shift began. His boy demanded to know who was sneaking up on him. Yet as he scanned the man, he felt a sudden chill rise in his body. It turned out to be Sudajin, the ruler of EC City and one of Xiaolong Hall's elders whose identity remained hidden behind a wall of terrifying question marks. Our boy greeted Lord Sithu with polite nods, and the master instantly spotted the swirling blue aura of death energy wrapping around him, effortlessly seeing through his fake disguise. Lord Sithu drops a hidden warning to his boss and explains that the job he just took is actually a terrible curse for anyone trying to succeed there. He decided to frame that meeting like an exam, promising to talk about the Death Dominator's secrets only if our boy actually survives the challenge. Oh no, as the system window suddenly pops up, it hands our boy a forgotten medal and officially locks him into an epic quest called Sithu, Jin's Trial, where he has to clear the land of forgetting while hitting 100% exploration with 0 penalties for failure. A little boy's heart races in anticipation as he packs away his favorite epic quest, only for the countdown timer to start ticking down at 5 minutes, causing his excitement to suddenly disappear into silence. He gasped as a glitch screen flashed red and demanded someone point him at the teleporter array before he could even start getting ready. He lets out a panicked laugh and immediately vanishes from reality before anyone even notices he's gone. Feeling like we're back under a black cat, our little boys instantly grab their bony friends to get some real love and strength. He marvels at the giant upgrades on his new skeleton majors, admiring how their powerful fireball attacks have surged in strength, while he laughs as his entire army's power levels shoot off into the clouds. A sudden, loud jolt cuts the last spark of joy before we can catch our breath. A massive army of level 20 skeletons rushes through the forest in a blur. He stood without looking at any numbers and immediately ordered his boys to march in a massive army charge. He smashed those huge bones with such force it broke their heads, yet our little boy hated how much experience they gave for so cheap loot. Luckily, there were plenty to farm, so he decided to test his shiny new toys by unleashing Death Gaze on the broken skulls and instantly evaporating a massive chunk of that horde. The man's heart races as he thrusts his fist into the dusty floor, ready to finish the job before anyone notices. He tried to pull up the whole pile of bones just so he could finish his mana drink, but all it pulled was a tiny speck. He was completely bewildered by that tiny, stingy drop rate, but suddenly a ghostly figure named Roth interrupted him. The system quickly tagged this special elite spirit as having total immunity to physical harm, which bumped the zone's exploration up to 10%. Ruth says that the people who stay behind in the land of forgetfulness were cursed while living there, so now they can't move on and keep their memories locked inside a pile of dirt forever. Her son asks, how do we escape this curse? A ghostish finger lingers right next to the heart of that ominous, living green coffin. The boy watches the box and realizes his mindless skeleton minions are trembling at its presence. It is called the Soul Lock Coffin, which gives him millions of shield points to keep alive until he destroys it. Destroying it unlocks exploration points, but warns him that the scary beast inside will reveal itself in a terrifying way. The truck driver's heart races as he sees the monster approaching, so quick and so dangerous that he throws himself into the open engine of the vehicle, screaming in a desperate attempt to stop it from smashing through the barrier. When the coffin shatters like broken glass, the world turns to hellfire and chaos. Then, as the massive, undead beast finally snaps out of its trance, it is revealed that the terrifying nail is a half-frozen lich trapped in his own ancient, broken form. The guy in the costume couldn't even stand up after Roth grabbed him and threw him back against the wall, furious because he had messed up his own transformation completely. The nail flashed like a warning sign across our boy's face, promising he'd taken all his death energy before finally making it through the transformation. But instead of accepting, our boy scoffed loudly at what seemed too easy, shouting who had given the half-baked glitch that kind of confidence, and immediately ordered his skeleton squad to attack. The nail is completely blown away as a wall of towering, elite skeletons crashes down around him. The shadowed figure tossed his arm wide, as if hurling a shield, shouting urgently for the name of the boy he was trying to capture in the center of a force that seemed to grow on its own. The boss refused to go down because he wanted to summon all his own kind of bad things instead. The boy's eyes widen as he sees the smoke smell like rotting garbage and start to yell, "I hate that smell," before even realizing it's too late to stop. His eyes lock onto his mentor, sending a blinding death stare directly at him as the system spits out an unimaginable penalty for a guy with such high life levels. The boy's grin turned into a wide, victorious smile because he finally knew he was going to be a real boss in the game. The boss's strength vanished as he crashed to his knees, stunned by what a boy was about to do with his squad. Clean up that foul-smelling pest. The nail that screamed the truth had been his only shield against fading. Yet as time passed, those bones slowly became a ghostly whisper in his quietest heart. The computer quietly deletes that final report so everyone can see the big cash prize waiting for them. He killed a dark gold boss, which instantly gave his little boy 50 extra levels of power and fresh life points. He's thrilled to see his team scaling up fast, even though he feels a bit underwhelmed when the boss actually drops those items. He grabs a cursed golden fragment, and while reading the small warning that demands collecting 7 such things before a crown can permanently destroy him, fate whispers that it is time he decides whether to keep this dangerous item or let his life end with just enough power to survive. The giant red flag showed up right in front of him, but his gamer brain already knew exactly what to do next. Combine those 7 dark gold pieces into a legendary epic item, and then happily pocket the cursed trash instead. The road acts as a silent, ethereal guide that seems to be shaking out its own high-pitched energy of joy, while a little boy truly breaks free from it. He pointed excitedly at the next train, shouting, "Keep going." The boy hesitated at the red brake pedal before slamming down firmly on the floor, refusing to let that sweaty struggle happen again. He felt worried, and the spirit tried to bribe himself instead of using his usual explosive power. My little son felt hurt by the ghost refusing him, so instead of stopping, he just smashed the promotion skill book and let his boost turn into a powerful explosive blast before leveling up to become an advanced corpse boss himself. The moment he grabbed the shiny new toy from its monster's body, he froze and checked for trouble before running off toward the next one. The 2 ghostly tag Alongiers aggressively flatter him, boasting about how he's invincible and the strongest person alive, while our shy boy refuses to believe their sweet talk, yet feels secretly thrilled when he knows his new area of effect skill will boost his farming speed to impossible heights. Grab your flashlight and start the explosion. We laugh as our young boy blows away the last boss, Walter, while grabbing that golden crown fragment before the shadowy figure panics and screams for him to quit crafting the evil thing instead of becoming a boring walking body. The boy ignored every safety warning and put all his pieces together in his bag to create a magical curse crown that instantly boosted the zone's exploration speed. The ghost howls that our little boy is getting eaten away at by raw, lifeless power, yet he only gives a lazy smirk to face it. The system confirms the crown is leaking lethal energy, but his trusty death drain backpack just plods along passively, scooping up the excess without even hurting him a scratch. A violent shake hits down right as a group of terrified ghosts realize that their old, comfortable throne has finally been awakened and is now ready to plunge them into a terrifying nightmare. The dark aura summoned Franklin, the frost lich, resting beneath the land of forgetting, as Roth's memories flooded back, and he remembered once being the mayor before Franklin cursed them all. The ghostly mayor pleaded our boy to kill the beast, offering a unique hidden quest and granting him a massive 20% boost to his spirit stat. Our boy holds a high ground and promises an all-out effort right before he faces that scary monster. Franklin, who looks like a terrifying 20-level frost lich despite his injuries, officially drops into the office, but his mind remains fixed on that ridiculous 15 million HP number he keeps bragging about. The hooded figure roars and stares down our boy, instantly knowing exactly what he's about to do with his stolen cursed crown. Franklin tries to summon the crown with magic so strong it's not even possible for him to touch it yet. Our loyal boy laughs at the lich's embarrassing defeat, while proudly displaying his crown as if it were just an ordinary piece of shiny metal, ignoring the tough rules that usually dictate how heavy or expensive such items truly are. He wears the legendary crown, which gives him tons of defense, health, and magic, plus a passive ability that casually flips curses onto foes. But he's also got an active curse aura around him that makes every enemy inside his 100-meter radius stumble to a halt in absolute slowness. Franklin storms out of the tavern and immediately grabs the cursed jewelry, snapping it with a grin as he tries to explain why the monster is wearing so much new gold on him before he can even see the face behind the head. Unimpressed, our boy yells that his heavy-armored skeleton squad is ready, then immediately flips his cursed aura to slash down enemy shadow speed by a third and trap them in liquid digital goo. The boy takes a quick breath to realize how ridiculous his power spike feels. Now at level 15 and rocking 2 legendary items along with the death code, his stats have doubled from where they started in the zone. He's only complaining that the crown can't be magically promoted. The loud voice of the shadow monster roars, screaming that his dead son is falling for the sun. Our boy froze instantly as Franklin's breathing stopped right in front of him, turning his attention entirely to the terrifying death gaze that was about to strike. His hidden life level is so high that he gets instantly smacked by a crushing pain curse, and his huge health bar drains away in every second of the fight. The boy freezes in place, staring down at a frozen lich whose cold stare threatens to turn him into ice himself before he can react. Franklin instantly fell to his knees as he ate giant shadows, begging to find out who his dangerous rival really was. Our boy casually refuses to drop his gamer tag. So furious at the blatant disrespect, Franklin uses his staff to whip up a massive tornado, summoning a literal bone dragon named Cactus. The system tags the dragon as a severely injured level 20 epic boss with 20 million hit points, bumping the zone's exploration up to 90%, and our boy sweats a little, admitting Lord Situ's trial is ridiculously overtuned. Our kid's quick finger flip stops the giant bone dragon from blowing down its big, fiery tower. Franklin stared at the glowing green scales of the dragon like he had just watched an old ghost walk through a thick fog. "Oh my gosh," Franklin mumbled, his breath hitching up his throat as the creature tried to breathe down on him. The lich never expected to see his boy pump out a massive 640% stat boost from his death drain backpack, but when that huge amount of power combined with the death curse's passive double damage against undead finally broke through, the skeleton slaps the dragon for over 1 million damage. Meanwhile, the cursed crown on our boy's head constantly leaks lethal death energy into his body. So when he packed his bag to go back to work, the heavy metal case slowly took over the space where everything else had been going. It was like a giant energy sponge, soaking up all that excess electricity and turning it into pure, endless power for him. Franklin was so desperate that he snapped when his stolen crown got in his face, slamming into the sky with a freezing storm blast that slammed us all flat. The lichen squeals hysterically, treating the squishy human as if they're already gone long before anyone even sees them. Instead of the boy standing up to leave, he simply dids his shoulders and made a funny face while Franklin gasped in shock at the result. The last time he figured that complex thing out, a dark wizard named Lich suddenly turned his face into a glowing, big, red rose and launched an entire army of skeletons into the darkness with just one shot. Our boy immediately spotted the winning move. In an instant, he pulls up every skeleton from his stash and instantly blocks out every target that could hurt him. His health potion kept him safe as his massive, heavily armored skeleton soldier sneered at the clumsy lizard and marched silently toward the commander. Franklin is so desperate, he thinks the enemy's little boy has already won the war. Instead of fighting back, our young hero just laughs loudly at the impossible math, dumps a huge load of deadly energy into his warrior, and watches as that tough guy's bony hitman actually slices the frost in half. Franklin is turning into a monster just as his best friend tries to stop him, forcing them both to lose their minds while he climbs the ranks toward the next boss. He became the first player in the Blue Star region by soloing an epic boss with a huge inventory full of stats and soul gems. He knew exactly how rich people spent their days and nights while living in absolute poverty, so when he landed on the ground and saw glowing stones, he charged them with his power. The pile of junk piles like an avalanche as Elias's clock hands begin to spin backward until they snap back up at a leisurely 51-year mark. And with a proud sigh that sounds almost like a victory, he announces that life has finally turned off his alarm. As the news hit like a sudden storm in the morning air, people everywhere began to shout out their cheers and laughter together. A bunch of rich girls watching a fight. One of them is completely unbothered by what happens next as she confidently tells her boyfriend she wants him clinging onto his coattails so hard he can't move. They laughed as their tank sighed, joking that skipping the server announcement for one night made the wait feel strange and natural. In the dusty tutorial zone, the toxic exes stare at that same towering billboard. The backstabbing blonde snake says it's time to run the rest of the novice village and get caught up in this personal investigation before the next day even starts. The cheating Shinsa tossed her hair like a deluded dreamer, convinced that no matter how much she was made of the murdered vegetable of an ex or a random god-tier player, everyone would finally kneel before her. My boy gets a cool dragon bone pendant from the system, but before he can even hold on to it, his mind goes wild and attacks him with exploit code. He swings that magic boost and turns the cold weapon into something truly special. A single sharp spark ignites, a powerful tunnel of air that seeps into the room and turns everything dark and dead. A massive frozen beast lunged forward, shouting loudly that the creature calling him was such a mistake and so weak. He laughed and casually slammed the giant monster down in purifying light. The stiff lizard just dropped his pretense, screaming for that laser pointer so he could go his way and turn into a real beast right there. And then, suddenly, the system unlocked this slot, firing up another regional celebration to cheer him on for being the server's first rider. The Mount leaderboard opens early, proudly showing him in first place with a mythic beast rank, while second and third slots remain empty. Our boy checks the stats and immediately sees his new pet is completely cracked. At level 0, it boasts 1,000,000 hit points, massive defenses, skills like Frost Dragon Breath, passive debuffs, and even shrink abilities. Looking at the newly miniaturized dragon chilling on his arm, Bay marvels at this absurd mythic rank. The players aren't even ready to believe there's anyone left on the map who isn't fighting the same legendary beast as the rest of the squad. So when one guy finally sees Bee riding a mythical dragon through the muddy swamp while everyone else is dead, he looks completely baffled. The other guy pretended to be a real billionaire so he could boast about bullying the man behind him. Instead of laughing heartily, everyone just stared blankly and felt strangely healed from everything else. Our boy returns from his adventure and immediately pulls back the lid of the skull casket, revealing the gleaming silver figure that was hidden beneath the shadowy layers of Sunset Town. The adventurers find the legendary artifact, a massive 1-million-year-old box designed to protect their home from any calamity, and place it at the heart of the village. The spirit demands personal ownership of his fate, yet the lich's whispering voice mocks him while he shatters the sealed casket to finally lock away the ghost for good. The world ended in a gentle, tearful sigh as the last words faded into silence, leaving only the sound of an exploding heart. His boy takes on an overwhelming amount of experience, slamming into level 20 and skyrocketing his stats while he solves a complex hidden quest that collects millions of items and ancient ice crystals. After the final battle for the city lord, Bane had to go back to EC, and now stepping past that digital door, he found the whole street deserted. No one had reached level 10 yet. The pocket dragon jumped forward, and suddenly, the beast shrank back down to its tiny, clumsy form that had been hiding in his own pockets. The little boy jumps onto the roof of the skyscraper, and suddenly feels tiny again, while his friends scramble in fear, because they're flying around a big snake who's trying to sneak up on them. The city lord stood in awe as his son stepped up to the massive door, cheering loudly that he had done something truly amazing. Bay takes a deep breath and steps forward to meet the lord, but the creature snaps back and yells that it must shrink its size so the master's house doesn't get destroyed. The lord slumped over his table and dropped a pile of heavy lore onto the floor. The boys tell us how game classes start on a simple level and climb up until they reach the hidden secret that sits right above them. The lord stared at the ceiling and said, "Whoa. That's way too early for level 29. The boy watches the ceiling flicker with an eerie stillness as he keeps his secret code locked tight, but the Lord in the sky just whispers a dangerous warning. To go higher than this level, you'd have to die first. The Lord of Heaven stirs up chaos in the Forbidden Realm, while Shenlong Hall prepares to unleash its ultimate weapon on any brave souls willing to take it, for everyone knows this ancient land is about to explode into war. The Lord handed him a framed picture of a man named Jan, who is guarding a valuable border-crossing treasure. Suddenly, a system command snaps him into an uneasy binding contract with Shenlong Hall, forcing him to either rush out of the country and leave for exotic lands or face the brutal reality of being hunted. The Lord told him to join the hall when he reached his third level of advancement and then handed him an exclusive piece of paper, EC Order 007. Staring at that rare token, our boy was completely thrilled to see how much prime real estate he now had in a top-tier city. My boy, I'm telling you to officially go with your friend to Shenlong Hall when you finally reach that third level up. When the old man finally walked away, he handed her a brand new shining token as his last piece of love and happiness. The clockwork notification crackled in the room, confirming the rare key had been placed in your pocket and unlocking everything inside that forbidden courtyard. His jaw dropped as the boy transformed from being on a single hit to holding a piece of prime real estate in one of the most exciting cities in town. The Lord casually added that he could practically do whatever he wanted with this token, and suddenly the world felt like a game where no one was stopping him. Oh my God! Our boy's eyes instantly light up as he asks if whatever he pleases includes killing that toxic ex-girlfriend and the traitor who stabbed him in the back. The king stared into the void and fell silent. Our boy jumps off his bike to climb into the dragon's magnificent winged seat, and he is immediately struck by how grand this entire city really is. It looks bigger than even our own big city. He steps out of the massive luxury palace, yet two guards instantly slam their hands down on his way, shouting that he owns nothing and wants to get away with it. Our kid stares at his 007 badge with a grin as if he's finally got the idea. A young man stumbled out of the house with a grin on his face, completely blown away when he saw the grand palace that had just appeared before him. He whispered a humble name like a secret promise, and when the official door clicked shut behind him, the whole place felt quieter, ready for his next brave move. He flopped down on the plush sofa, realizing he could just throw away all those shopping bags and unwind without the bother of any big renovation plans. He's making a huge deal of the time he has left by spending 1,000 soul points on a brand new skill book. He discovers how to travel between worlds by instantly teleporting through the realm of death springboards, which is actually just a beautiful way of breaking free from the rules of ordinary time. His weapon isn't just strong, it's a powerful shield that wipes out every magic spell hitting him instantly, gives him a full 3-second wall of true invincibility, and hides behind this life or death barrier until he can finally move again. Eager to test his new toy, he instantly teleported back into the guard's room before anyone could move. He realizes he can now drop an undead army wherever he goes by linking his teleportation to summon space, then decides it's time for some pocket change. So, our boy hits the streets with a low-level gem vendor, abuses his promotion talent to upgrade those gems, and sells them right back. He jumped back and forth so fast that his hands flew up to his face, and suddenly he was standing on the other side of a river with only $20 left behind. The guy might laugh about how he's making trouble before sprinting straight for that crowded auction house to find out who's really spending their money. As the door swung open, he walked into a grand financial tower whose walls seemed to crack under the sheer weight of its own wealth. A receptionist politely stops him, explaining that the second floor is an exclusive VIP zone requiring a ticket that costs anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 gold. Wondering just how absurd the auction prices must be, our boy simply flashes his 007 token and asks if it qualifies for a discount. She snaps her fingers and transforms into a jet-black energy beast, handing the client an exclusive digital badge that slashes every tax bill by half while collecting his entire entrance fee as a one-time bonus. She even handed out an offer for a 10,000 soul interest-free loan. Our boy blinked and asked what rate. The receptionist slammed her desk open with a massive lore bomb to explain. 1 soul coin equals 10,000 gold, but it's far more powerful if you know that each coin holds exactly 1 hour of human life. He slapped the pile of radiant gems onto the counter and demanded they get sold for soul coins. As the receptionist eagerly agreed on the plans, the scene shifted dramatically outside when a mysterious rich lady with a grand party arrived at the EC city gate. They both stared up at the clouds in awe as that huge, cold dragon glided across the rooftops below. His team felt a tiny spark of excitement as the tank whispered softly, "Let's see if our favorite carry could actually unlock the server's very first mount." He steps forward and beams at the horse, saying, "Well done." The rich girl handed over her share of the tutorial cost and told the boy they could have fun in the city. Yet she stopped in mid-sentence with an absurd SSS rank god of wealth talent who had somehow turned a rare item into a literal die roll for fortune-telling. Knowing that offering a gamble to a gamer is guaranteed to be a hook, the boy immediately pressed for the price. A wealthy girl laughs and tells a man that the opportunity isn't about selling anything at all. Instead, she plans to dive into a big deal together. His eyes widen in excitement as the young boy listens intently to this fascinating plan. But before they can finish planning their own party, a familiar face crashes into it. A towering guild leader stumbled onto the stage as everyone froze in disbelief, realizing that a talented boy and a wealthy girl had finally beaten him to get into town. Thanks for staying until the very end. If you like this summary, feel free to drop a like or share in the comments so we can catch up. See you later for another episode about crazy moments.